And the shadow fell upon the land, and the world was riven stone from stone. Here, let me do my Game of Thrones announcer voice. The oceans fled, and the mountains were swallowed up, and the nations were scattered to the 8 corners of the world. The moon was as blood, and the sun was as ashes. The sea boiled, and the living envied the dead. All was shattered, and all was but memory lost. And one memory, above all others, of him who brought the shadow and the breaking of the world. This was the last dragon, right? So this show is literally all about who's the next dragon and how they're going to pick up the pieces from how the last butthole messed everything up, right? The dragon in the books has to be a male. There's no doubt about that. Rand al'Thor is the dragon reborn. Really, the dragon is the title for the male champion of the light against the dark one, and is always the reincarnation of a single particular soul, much like Avatar. He is reborn in the Age of Legends, and again in the Third Age, to combat the shadow. It is unknown if he is born again in a similar repeating pattern in the other ages. The dragon in the Age of Legend was Luz Theron Telamon. The dragon of the Third Age is Rand al'Thor. The prophecies of the dragon are described as the Carathion cycle, give vague impressions of the events that will follow after his coming. This dude that we saw in episode 4, Logain Ablar, is basically someone who was born as a Gildanine noble in 971 NE. He began channeling Sadine in around 992 NE, and he declared himself to be the dragon reborn a few years later. He pretty much tries to, after he gets stripped of his titles and his land, he begins slowing in 998 NE, just prior to being captured by the Aes Sedai. And that's pretty much what we pick up with him on the show. Now, if you're wondering what an Aes Sedai in the books is, an Aes Sedai never lies, but the truth she speaks may not be the truth you think you hear. We've actually heard that line on the show, one of the less cringy lines. The Aes Sedai, in the old tongue, we learned that in this episode, are servant of all. They serve everything. They are women who can channel the one power and have been trained in the White Tower of Tar Valon. They have passed the test for earning both the ring and the shawl and are bound by the 3 oaths. They are the only organization of female channelers in the Westland, giving them a vast amount of power and influence over the nations of the world, providing advisors to kings and queens. I don't know what the hell. Okay, so let's be fair. They're Aes Sedai on the show, right? So I can't remember the exact name of it, but the type of circle they form to go against Logain takes a large number of Aes Sedai. I think they only had 7. That's one way they murdered the source material. Some of my thoughts on this episode, now that I kind of, explain that for people who are just average show watchers like myself, I'll talk about that before anything else. That's what really pisses me off. The dude, honestly, Amazon is 100% buying YouTubers, like people who do what I do, but they only say the show's good. There's no way that you read the same books that I'm starting to read and think this show is a faithful adaptation. They didn't even start out faithful and twist it. They've completely switched. After watching this episode, it's convinced me that they've just completely mutilated the source material. It's okay. I'm going to keep watching, if only to find out how much better the books are. But it's like, what I mean when they pissed off both people is, as the show watcher, they have trouble keeping up because they're barely vested in these characters. Who gives a shit about them? I don't even remember their names. I mean, I know their names, but I'm saying like the average show watcher probably doesn't, right? And then also book fans, book loyalists, people who actually read the books and not just listen to them. Or no, that's not fair. People who actually know the books well and know the overarching message in Robert Jordan's work. They're for the most part, what I read online, that's not like an obvious upvoted opinion, it seems like they've pissed off both people. But the writing is just really bad. I gotta mention that. It's super cringy. Most of the lines that they try to have callbacks to the books are just awful. I don't know if hiring someone to run something that had the potential to be bigger than Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, hiring someone who was on Survivor Guatemala was the best things. It's really kind of silly. Almost 50 minutes Like, it feels like an hour. This whole episode was just made up material or just totally warped so much from the source you can't even understand what's going on. It's somehow getting more confusing. Like, they keep mentioning how everyone is reborn and how reincarnation is a thing, but why is there any real fear of death? Especially since we saw what happened with Nynaeve. Like, I can't remember exactly how they did it, but she was part of a woman's circle who were not Aes Sedai. As a matter of fact, every single line she mentions in reference to the Aes Sedai sounds like she does not like them, because remember, she was turned away because she was too poor. But like, she's never used the one power before. How the fuck can she heal everyone in the room? Really? I don't know. Like, also, death. Like, the stakes, if you can heal someone that easily, what's the fear? Like, what are the stakes aren't present? The pace, everything is screwed up, right? You can just heal someone from a life. It's not like with, and I hate to do this, it's the showrunner's fault for saying it's like Game of Thrones, but better, more fantasy, right? More Lord of the Rings, more of a carbon copy of Lord of the Rings. It's like, reincarnation worked in Game of Thrones because you didn't know who was the chosen one to be reincarnated, and very few people, literally one or two people technically, but she only did it one time, were able to reincarnate people. It seems like literally the entire room can be brought back, and I know the green lady who kind of looked like Wanda Sykes is dead, but like, everybody else is fine. They all had injuries. They should have died in seconds. The dude, the fucking samurai guy, he had his neck squirting out blood Monty Python style. He should have been dead instantly. Why was he healed and the other girl wasn't? Is it because she didn't like her? Is that why? The entire room got literally just reneged. They just undid all of their, like, dramatic choices. I thought, holy crap, all of these people are about to die. Just the thought of that made me think, like, oh, well, they're nuking certain characters. Not that I don't like their on-screen adaptations, but they're completely throwing a loop. Maybe just from that fact alone, this show is going to get interesting. Nope, that's not what happened. They redid that because someone, Nynaeve, who's so poorly trained in the one power. I'm not saying she's poorly trained, but I'm saying she's not an Aes Sedai. She could undo everything Logain did when Logain took him 7 Aes Sedai to take him out. How can she? That doesn't make any sense. Is she the Taveran? I will say that I'm going to get out of here. I don't need to make this video that long. But the last thing that I do want to mention, I did enjoy the opening sequence. It kind of felt like I was watching something from the Biography channel or something on Nat Geo, maybe the History channel. It seemed like I was watching like Raiders of the Lost Ark, where there was some Templar, like this was a reenactment of a medieval battle. But I did enjoy it. The way that the CGI is put together, it has potential. Maybe the team that does the CGI for this show just needs more practice. Maybe this is one of the first shows they worked on. It's weird how it basically looks like white hair and then hair with like oil on it. It just doesn't, it looks like sci-fi level graphics, like the Sci-Fi Channel. Maybe even CW. I don't know. Thank you all so much for watching. The next video I do will be a strictly Wheel of Time lore video. I want to thank you all so much for watching. My name's Mark, and I hope you had a really good Thanksgiving. I actually have a really full belly, so I was in an amazing mood before watching this. I don't understand why my commentary had to be so negative. Well, it is called YouTube because it is my opinion. Thank you all so much for watching. Please leave me your comments and your thoughts down below, and slap a like on this video. Like goal is going to be 420. Get it?